Hey, God, why is it always so hot at the equator? I mean, isn't the sun shining on the whole Earth the same way? It feels like heat should be equal everywhere.
That's a great question, kiddo. Lots of people wonder that at first. The equator is like an invisible belt right around the middle of our planet, splitting it into north and south halves. But it's not hot just because it's in the middle. It's because of how the sun's rays hit it. Imagine Earth as a big orange, tilted a bit as it spins around the sun. At the equator, the sunlight comes straight down, like shining a flashlight directly on the fruit's belly. That direct hit packs all the warmth into a smaller spot, making it super toasty year-round.
Oh, like when I hold my magnifying glass straight over a leaf in the sun and it gets really warm fast? But if the sun is so far away, why doesn't it warm everything the same? The sun feels the same strength from my backyard.
Exactly like that magnifying glass. Good thinking. The sun is about 93 million miles away, so yeah, the distance to Earth is pretty much the same everywhere on the planet. But it's the angle that changes everything. At the equator, those rays don't have to spread out or slant. They beam right in, concentrating the heat. Think of it like pouring syrup on pancakes. If you pour straight down, it soaks in hot and thick in one spot. If you tilt the bottle, it spreads thin and cools off quicker. That's why places right on the equator, like parts of Africa or South America, stay warm all the time, with temperatures often above 80 degrees Fahrenheit, even in what we'd call winter.
Huh, that makes sense with the syrup analogy. So the equator gets this direct syrup pour from the sun every day? But wait, does the Earth's tilt make it wobble or something to keep it that way?
You're spot on. The Earth's tilt is key. Our planet leans at about 23.5 degrees as it orbits the sun, like a spinning top that's a little off balance. This tilt means the equator is always facing the sun more directly than other parts. No wobbling away, it's steady. Remember that time I told you about my trip to Ecuador? That's right on the equator. I stood there in a t-shirt while folks back home were bundling up in coats. The sun felt intense, like it was hugging the ground tight, heating up the air, the soil, everything. That's concentrated heat for you. No escaping it.
Wow, Ecuador sounds fun. So if the equator gets all that straight-on sun, places farther away must get the slanted version, right? Like, why aren't the poles boiling hot too?
Precisely. As you move north or south from the equator, the sunlight starts hitting at more of an angle, spreading out over a bigger area. It's like that syrup thinning out across the plate. It doesn't warm as much per spot. So temperatures drop gradually. Near the equator, you've got steamy rainforests full of monkeys and colorful birds thriving in the heat. Head north to where I grew up, and it's milder forests with deer and squirrels. Even farther, like in Canada, it's cooler pines and bears. And at the poles, icy tundras with penguins or polar bears, where the sun's rays are so slanted they barely warm anything. It's all connected to that direct hit at the middle.
Okay, I get why the heat concentrates there now. But if the angle is what matters, why does it hit so differently across the Earth? Isn't the curve of the planet making it tricky?
Ah, you're digging deeper. That's awesome. Yeah, the Earth's curve does play a big role in why the sunlight hits differently. Picture our planet like a giant basketball, round and bulging in the middle. At the equator, that middle bulge faces the sun head-on, so the rays come in straight, like arrows shooting directly into the center. But as you go toward the poles, the curve bends away, making those same rays glance off at a slant. It's not uniform because the spreading out weakens the heat. Less energy lands on each square foot of ground the farther you get from that direct spot.
Like arrows? So if I imagine shooting arrows at a ball, the ones in the middle stick straight, but the ones on the sides kind of skim off? That sounds right. But wouldn't the sunlight just spread out evenly anyway? I mean, it covers the whole Earth. So why isn't the warmth the same everywhere it touches?
Spot on with the arrows. Great visual. But here's the key. When sunlight spreads out at an angle, it's like buttering toast with a knife held sideways. You cover more bread, but the butter gets thinner, right? At the equator, the sun's energy is thick and concentrated, warming the air and ground intensely. Head north or south, and that angled hit means the same amount of sunlight stretches over a wider area, delivering less heat per spot. Scientists measure it. At the poles, the rays might spread over twice as much ground as at the equator, so it's way cooler. Remember my story about hiking in Norway? That's far north. The sun felt weak, even in summer, like it was peeking over the horizon instead of blasting down.
Oh, thinner butter makes sense for why it's not as warm. So the angle causes the spreading, and that's why poles get angled rays that don't heat much? But if the Earth is spinning, doesn't that mix it all up evenly?
Good catch on the spinning. Earth does rotate, which gives everywhere a turn in the sun. But the angle still rules. The spin creates day and night, sure, but it doesn't change how slanted the rays are based on your spot. At the equator, even during that spin, the sun climbs high overhead at noon, pounding straight down with full force. At the poles, it never gets that high. It's always low, like a sunset that lasts all day, spreading energy thin. That's why Arctic winters can drop to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Barely any direct warmth. Think of it like shining a lamp on a globe. The equator glows bright and hot, while the top and bottom stay dim and chilly.
Huh, I get it now. The spin doesn't fix the angle problem. So direct rays mean more energy packed in, and angled ones mean less per area. That's why the equator stays so hot. But wait, is the distance from the sun really the same everywhere? If the Earth's round, aren't some parts closer or farther?
Exactly. You've nailed the energy part. And yep, the distance to the sun is basically identical across the planet. Earth's diameter is tiny compared to that 93 million miles. It's all about the angle and curve tricking the rays into spreading unevenly. But let's check. If I asked you why the North Pole is colder than Brazil, what would you say now?
I'd say it's because the rays hit the pole at a steep angle, spreading out the heat over more space, while Brazil gets them straight on, concentrating it. Yeah, that feels solid.
Perfect. You're thinking like a little scientist. That spreading explains a lot. Now, imagine walking from the equator toward the pole. The temperatures don't just drop randomly. They cool step by step because of that increasing angle. It's gradual, like turning down a thermostat, mile by mile. Ever wonder why some places have snowy mountains while others have beaches, even though they're all on the same spinning ball?
Yeah, that gradual cool down must change everything around it. Like, if it's getting cooler as you go north, does that mean the air and weather shift in patterns too?
Absolutely. That gradual cool down does shift the air and weather into all sorts of patterns. And it's fascinating how it happens. See, as you move away from the equator, say heading north or south, the temperature drops because of something called latitude. That's just a fancy way of measuring how far you are from that middle line, like lines on a map. The farther you go, the cooler it gets. Not randomly, but in a predictable way. It's all tied to the Earth's round shape curving away from the sun's direct rays. Remember, the distance to the sun is the same everywhere on Earth, right? So why isn't the warmth even? Well, it's that curvature spreading the sunlight thinner like we talked about. But there's more to it with the atmosphere playing a part too.
Latitude? Oh, like those numbers on globes? 0 at the equator and up to 90 at the poles? But yeah, if the sun's distance is the same, it seems weird that warmth isn't equal. Doesn't the air just carry heat around to make it even?
Spot on about those latitude lines. They're like Earth's measuring tape. And you're right to question the evenness. Lots of kids do. The air does move heat around with winds and currents, but it can't fully balance things out because of how the sun's energy hits. At higher latitudes, say around 40 degrees like in New York, the rays come in at a sharper angle due to the curve, so they pass through more atmosphere before reaching the ground. That extra air scatters some energy, weakening the warmth. At the equator, the atmosphere is thinner in the sense that rays zip straight through less of it. Direct path, boom, full heat. It's like sunlight having to fight through a thicker blanket the farther north you go, trapping less heat down below.
Thicker blanket? So at the poles, it's like the sun's trying to shine through a bunch of fluffy clouds or something, making it colder? But wouldn't the Earth's spin or orbit mix that up more?
Close. It's not exactly clouds, but yeah. More atmosphere acts like a filter, absorbing and scattering the rays so less warmth gets through. The spin helps with day-night cycles, and the orbit gives seasons. But latitude locks in the base temperature drop. Think about it. At 0 degrees latitude, averages hover around 80 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Jump to 60 degrees like in Alaska, and it's more like 30 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit with real winters. That drop happens because those angled rays don't just spread thin. They also lose punch traveling through denser layers of air at the edges. I once visited Antarctica. Brr, minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. The sun was up, but it felt like a weak flashlight through fog, all because of that high latitude curve.
Wow, Antarctica sounds freezing. So the curvature makes rays travel through more air at higher latitudes, scattering the heat away? That explains why it's not even if the sun's far-off distance is the same.
You've got it. The curvature forces that longer path through the atmosphere, diluting the energy. Plus, at the poles, the air is colder and denser, which traps even less incoming heat, like a fridge door left open. It's why temperatures plummet steadily with each degree of latitude. Scientists track it. For every 100 miles north from the equator, it cools about 1 degrees Fahrenheit on average. Ever notice how weather reports mention tropical storms near the equator versus blizzards up north? It's all latitude shaping those patterns, turning hot, humid air into cool, dry zones as you climb those map lines.
1 degree cooler per 100 miles? That's steady. So no wonder places far from the equator have seasons with snow. I always thought it was just random. But does this atmosphere thing affect more than just temperature? Like maybe the sky or something?
Not random at all. It's super patterned. And yep, it ripples out to the sky, winds, even rain. But let's check your grasp. If someone asked why it's warmer in Kenya than in Sweden, both the same distance from the sun, what ties back to latitude?
I'd say Kenya's near 0 latitude, so direct rays through thin atmosphere heat it up strong, while Sweden's at higher latitude, with curved, angled rays through thicker air, spreading and weakening the warmth. Yeah, that clicks.
Nailed it. You're zooming ahead. That latitude drop creates these heat zones across the planet, like invisible bands of climate. It's wild how such a simple curve changes so much, from steamy days to frosty nights. Makes you think about what lives and grows in those varying spots, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does make me wonder, what lives and grows in those spots? Like, if the heat zones are so different, do animals and plants just pick where they want? Or is there a reason they're stuck in certain places?
Great curiosity there. It's not about being stuck. It's about thriving where conditions match what they need. These heat zones, shaped by that equator warmth we talked about, create whole ecosystems, like custom neighborhoods for life. Near the equator, where it's hot and direct sun steamy, you've got tropical jungles bursting with stuff. Think Amazon rainforest, tall trees with leaves like giant umbrellas, monkeys swinging around, and colorful frogs hopping everywhere. The constant heat and rain make it a paradise for growth. Plants soak up that energy, growing fast and thick, supporting tons of critters.
Tropical jungles sound amazing, with all those monkeys and frogs. But couldn't those animals just move to cooler spots if they wanted? I mean, animals adapt, right? Like, why not have frogs in the snow?
Frogs in the snow? That'd be a funny sight. But, nah, adaptation has limits tied to these zones. Sure, some animals adjust a bit, like birds migrating, but most are built for specific heat levels because of how their bodies work. In the hot equator zones, creatures evolve traits for warmth, like thin fur or ways to stay cool, sweating or hiding in shade. A polar bear, with its thick blubber and fur, would overheat in the jungle, just like a jungle frog would freeze solid in the tundra. It's evolution matching the climate. The equator's steady heat lets more species cram in, peaking biodiversity there. Scientists count way more types of bugs, birds, and plants near the middle than anywhere else.
Oh, so polar bears are made for cold and jungle stuff for hot. That makes sense. But why does the heat make more kinds of life? Isn't cold good for some things too?
Exactly. Cold is great for some, but heat ramps up the variety. Warmth speeds up everything. Plants grow quicker, producing more food, which feeds more animals, leading to a bigger web of life. In tundras at the poles, where it's freezing from those slanted rays, life slows down. Think short summers, permafrost ground, and hardy survivors like Arctic foxes or penguins huddling together. Fewer species because the cold limits growth. Mosses and lichens instead of big trees. I remember camping in the Amazon. The air hummed with insects. Vines twisted everywhere, and birds called nonstop. Contrast that to my Alaska trip. Quiet, snowy expanses with caribou trudging through. Perfectly suited, but not as jam-packed with variety.
Wow, Alaska versus Amazon. Total opposites. So the equator's heat zone cranks up growth and diversity, while poles have tougher, fewer survivors. But do these zones ever mix, like animals crossing over?
They do sometimes, but it's rare and often tough. Borders between zones are gradual, so some overlap, like savannas turning into deserts as heat shifts. But crossing far? A camel from hot deserts might handle mild cold, but not polar ice. Ecosystems are like puzzles. Pieces fit best in their heat band. Biodiversity peaks in warmth because energy flows abundantly. More sun means more photosynthesis, more plants, more everything eating them. At poles, it's a lean menu, so fewer guests at the party. Ever seen a documentary on coral reefs? Those are equator specials, teeming with fish in warm waters. Couldn't happen in chilly seas.
Coral reefs are so cool, with all the colors. Yeah, I see now why stuff changes with distance from the equator. It's all about matching the heat for survival and booming life. No wonder jungles are full and tundras are sparse.
You've pieced it together beautifully. These zones shape who's there and why, from lush jungles to icy tundras. It's amazing how the equator's hotspot kicks off this whole chain, influencing every leaf and paw print across the planet. Feels good to understand that big picture, doesn't it?
Totally! It all connects back to that direct sun. Thanks, Guide. I feel like I really get why the equator's heat ripples out to everything living on Earth. No more questions. It's all making perfect sense now.